What's going on, my man?
What's going on, Will?
Not a whole lot, brother. I've seen you around the sphere a bunch of times. We've been on streams around the same time, but we've never had a chance to chat, and I'm looking forward to it, my friend.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you. Living in similar time zones and recognizing that there's a gap in content. And like I said the other day, like what a better time to start a rant channel than right now. You start this rant channel 2 weeks ago, there probably isn't a whole lot going on, but right now is a good time. So cheers.
Yeah, and for ranting and stuff like that, it's more of a lighthearted. I guess it might have a little bit more of a negative connotation over in the UK than it does here in the States. Ranting is just kind of, you can rant positively, you can rant negatively. But there was a couple of people on Twitter was like, "Oh, them lot over there, they do all the ranting. We don't need to do that." And I was like, "That, not that kind of show." Although it can be that kind of show, just depending on what's going on for the day, right? So,
yeah, bullshit, man, bullshit. 99% of the ranting that I see going on about Spurs is coming directly from UK. So let's call it how it is.
Exactly. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So the beer of the night for tonight is Blue Moon for me. That's what
I am drinking. This is what I've been reduced to. I've been reduced to boxed wine. You know what? When I started supporting Spurs, I used to drink from bottles, and now I drink from boxes because that's just a quantity over quality thing.
No, I feel you. I definitely feel you. So tell us a little about your story, since we got some time here. Why people jump in?
Yeah.
How did you start following Spurs?
Well, when I was growing up, my dad was into Tottenham Hotspur and football, or as we kind of know it here, soccer. I don't want to say the S word. I've kind of eliminated it. I've eliminated from my vocabulary. I used the word cleats on Twitter the other day, and I got completely roasted. Boots. So, I kind of started following loosely about 15 or so years ago, and ended up going off to college, and other priorities kind of got in the way and whatnot, but started following back a little bit more closely in the last few years. And then especially in the last 12 to 18, since we went on a Champions League run, for sure, it's become a lot more of an obsession. And I mean, I think I made my first online appearance to talk about Tottenham like 2 weeks ago, and since then I've been on like 6 different Spurs related channels. So
crazy how that happens, right?
Yeah, it is absolutely. You know what, you have to admire the passion, and if you're going to be a Tottenham fan, passion is the one thing that's going to keep you going, especially in times like this. I mean, it's just so crazy to think that just the last 48 hours online has just been unbelievable. If you go back 7 days, the way we were kind of pumping ourselves up going into the North London derby, it's really hard to believe that we're sitting here having the types of conversations that we're having. But yeah, Spurs, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is. And I mean, I have a kind of similar story. It's been a little bit longer for 2 weeks for me. I think I've been a member for We Are Tottenham TV. I'd probably say right around a year. Probably subscribed for 2 years, and I've been a member. I can't remember how many different color badges they have, but it's been a while. And I used to go on their fan shows, after a game when I could. I just find it really hard because a lot of the times, especially the midweek games, it's either one. I have a 13-year-old son who plays football himself, so he has matches, if not Saturday and Sunday, but at least one of those days through the weekend, and it usually happens right around the time that Tottenham's playing. Or I live on the East Coast in the United States, so if it's an early game, that's like 7:30. So if I'm going to get on like a pregame show, I got to wake up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And so I just find it really hard to be able to come on regularly. And that, that was when, like Matt Hayes and the Irish Hotspur, who's, who I really enjoy. That was before they were really into their prominence. That was when they were just starting out. I was just chatting with with David over there, and I was like, hey, we don't have a lot of content from like 5 o'clock Eastern time until like 2 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, or back that would be about what? Are you what part of Canada are you in?
I'm in Ontario, so Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, so you're in the same time zone as me, but like those folks out on the west, 2 o'clock our times, that's just right around 11 o'clock their time, so they don't have hardly anything going on, when it's evening time for them. And so I was just like, there's a gap here. And then I was hoping that Tottenham away, those guys over there, because two of them are from Canada, they would start doing more stuff. But because they have two other guys that are also in England themselves, they tend to do all of their stuff around the English time. So I was like, well, there's a gap here. Somebody needs to fill it. Marcelo wasn't really willing to do it. So I was like, I've got all this stuff here. I might as well go for it.
Man, the
So
studio looks unreal. Absolutely. I just kind of strung up my jersey and or sorry, my shirt and my scarf in the background there just so I looked a little bit legit. But no, and you know what? I've been following We Are Tottenham TV for about a year and only joined a couple of weeks ago. I finally just said, you know what? I'm watching every single video. I have an opinion that I want to express when I go on there. And to see how many of these kind of spin-off channels that have been growing and spawning here in the last 3 or 4 months is unbelievable. And those guys deserve a lot of credit for kind of blazing a trail for people like you and people like David and all those smaller for now channels.
yeah, and I mean, I tell you what, I really I watch a ton of those things too, and so I support a lot of them, with super chats and memberships, as many as I can. Um, and it's just been a really great experience. I mean, when it first started, it was like We Are Tottenham TV, Chris Collin, George Aquila, and Expressions, right? And like those were the main four, and that was when they could actually go into matches. And then it was kind of around this, lockdown period where a couple other smaller ones started popping up. You had, I think, Matt and Charlie THFC were kind of the first ones. And then you had, David and Lily White Lane, and then you had Simon and Bob Spur. And then I was like, hey, I got to jump on board. And actually, I've been absolutely shocked at the amount of feedback and the amount of people that had jumped onto this North American stream, as quickly as they did. Cause I mean, 2 days and we're almost at like 60, 70 subscribers. And really humbled by and really glad that there was actually people out there that were wanting to, have some content around this time. And a lot of the UK guys have been jumping into staying up. I think David on the first stream stayed up with us till it was like 5 o'clock in the morning his time and was in the chat and doing all that stuff. And I just hope that it grows, and the thing that I wanted to do was a little bit different, was just give like a free invite to everybody to come on, you know what I mean? So anybody who wanted to, anybody who wanted to come in and have their say, you didn't have to have, well, I mean, obviously I'm too small right now to have any memberships or anything like that, but you don't have to have a membership. Just kind of be like an open forum where people can just kind of rant, whether it's a positive rant or a negative rant or, whatever, just a place where a group in prime time when it's, quiet around your house, and we can just all get together and just talk about the team that we love to hate. Right. So,
The team that loves to hate us, that's for sure right now. But yeah, no, totally respect you for getting things going. And yeah, I mean, I was looking at your subscribers. I mean, what did you start this like 2 days ago?
yeah,
It's
two
just
days ago.
incredible. And it's you have to be patient if you really want a channel like this to succeed and become something bigger. What I see is that you're kind of just doing this out of the love of the club and to provide kind of a voice. I know I see the Irish Hotspurs in the comments already.
Yeah.
David, I hope you got something to eat, man. I was watching the stream earlier and you said like we're going to be done in like 5 minutes, and then you went on for like 90 more minutes after you said that you were going to starve. So I hope you got something to eat, bud. But no, I think the thing is, if it's about getting to different levels as a channel, and I don't want to make like a dark comparison, but if you end up going viral, that growth can be exponential. So if there's a spot here for you to slot in and have voices heard, absolutely, I fully support it, and that's why I wanted to come on tonight.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah. And then, I mean, guys from Mexico. We had like, Mexico Spurs SC over here. He has subscribed and watched, and I didn't even really. I mean, I knew that. I mean, I live in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I see a lot of Hispanic people rolling around with Spurs shirts and like that. But I didn't know there was a big following for Tottenham in Mexico. I can't remember any Mexican players that we've signed over the last 10 or 15 years. Could be wrong, but
Yeah, for
um,
sure.
but no, it's just a great thing. It's great that it's growing, and yeah, and he says it's much needed in North America. It's like I agree with you, man. It's just hard to get at a quiet house. I'm either at work or my kids are at home or stuff like that. So, I did a lot of this when I would go on to shows, it would be out of my garage because that was the only quiet place that I could find in the house and all of that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I just think it's a great place to hang out and to just chat and talk and do whatever. And I think right now too was kind of just a prime time. There's a lot to talk about, obviously, with everything's going on. I mean, and all the channels for me, I just find extremely entertaining. Like today, I don't know if you caught today's show on Chris's channel with David and Alex, and that's always a good time. And then David coming on and bringing in Marcelo again after a while, and they got them all fired up and worked up. And David, if you want to come in off cam, you can still come in with just your voice if you want. If you're lying in bed and you don't want to show your beautiful face, but if you just want to get the voice in there, you can just come up no cam, right, and do it. That's how we roll over here at the THFC Rants. It's a more of a casual atmosphere. But Cody, getting into the game tomorrow, what are your insights into what you think the result's going to be? Like, how do you think we're going to set up? What do you think the issues are going to be? Just kind of go over your feeling for the game tomorrow.
Well, I mean, uh, we're certainly going to find out a lot about our football club tomorrow, both in the way that they get set up, the starting 11, the bench, and how the players come out. Because I mean, it's not there's an entire spectrum of results, and it's normal to kind of expect that. Okay, well, maybe you win, maybe you lose, maybe you draw, but have we ever been more focused on the way that the players are going to come out than we are going to be going into the Aston Villa game tomorrow? Because we've seen two games here in the last 7 days where we've we've had certain expectations, and those expectations have not been met in terms of heart and mettle, attitude, respect. It's just been a very frustrating week to be a Spurs fan and to see the players playing the way that they are. And there are so many questions, and everyone kind of has their own opinion as to what the answer is, whether it's Jose or the players or the board. Like who would have thought this time last week when we were all sitting around hyping up our squad going into the North London derby that we'd be sitting here wondering whether or not we can even challenge Aston Villa. So um, a lot of questions to be answered tomorrow, and with 2 weeks off after tomorrow, man, who knows what's going to happen. But if we see the kind of effort that we have seen here in the last two games, you have to wonder whether or not Jose can survive another 90 minutes of that kind of performance, right?
Yeah. And so, I mean, what do you think the big, besides the whole Josie in, Josie out thing, what do you think is the big difference? And I guess you could say the way that we've been playing. Like, what do you see from a technical aspect of what has changed between Fulham, Crystal Palace, Burnley to what you saw at Arsenal and Zagreb?
Well, I mean, the quality of the competition, I mean, we really should have had enough to beat Zagreb easily. Um, Arsenal took it to us. They just had a much better attitude. Both squads had a better attitude. But how I have been trying to digest what has been going on is trying to zoom out on the bigger picture of our season and say, okay, if we go player by player and look at the number of minutes that they've been given and the amount of trust that they've been shown and the amount of confidence that they have been exuding on the field, it's it's hard. It you could basically just take our whole squad and divide them into two groups. You know, on one hand, you've got your inner circle that inner circle that are trusted by Jose Mourinho, and you've got everyone else who is kind of taken their turn on the carousel and been at one point or another kind of frozen out for maybe 4 or 5 games at the time. And it's really hard. I mean, we really expect a lot of our players in our club, and we should. We're Tottenham Hotspur, but you can't expect players to be playing at a high level when they're being inserted into the squad infrequently and inconsistently. Certain players I would exempt from the way that they've been playing. Other players I would say, okay, maybe you're just not playing for the badge. But um, man, there's more questions than there are answers right now, and it's hard to choose who to make excuses for. But the reality is, we expect more. We expect more as fans than we've seen in the last when we've seen all season.
Yeah, and I've gotten the kind of the reputation to be kind of like a a stat man and stuff like that. So, when we had our last dip in form, after, especially after Sergio Reguilon got hurt, and then Kane, had his ankle issues. Just even also in those games where we drew and we probably shouldn't have, right? Like with Newcastle and West Ham the first time around, and I've noticed that we go through these really kind of poor passing droughts where the passing becomes really lazy and kind of fickle about how we complete passes. And if you notice the games that we actually perform really, really well, the players look sharp, the passes are crisp, they're quick, but everything's with with the instep of the foot. They're placing it where it should be. And then when you go into I went back and rewatched as hard as it was. I just kind of like do this as somebody who's really into like the tactical aspect of the game and trying to grow in my understanding of the game so I can help my son out in his journey. And the passes were all off balance. The pace was off. It was slow where they should have been taking a pass in 1 or 2 touches. They were taking them in 3 or 4. There was just real no urgency on the ball, right? They weren't when we're really playing well, you can kind of see the ball, the movement, the ball movement on the pitch is almost is like a rondo, right? It's just boom, 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 boom. Whereas against in these last 2 matches, if you really watch it close, it's slow, it's lethargic. They're off balance. They're using weird parts of their feet instead of the instep. The weight of the pass is really slow. And if you really look at the statistics of pass completion rates, not only does the overall pass rate drop, but the percentage goes from like 85 to like 70%. And that's been the real common theme to me. And I just I just don't I just don't understand how sometimes we can come out firing on all cylinders. Everything's real, crisp and sharp. Just even from in possession type of a thing versus what we've seen a lot. I just don't understand the inconsistency between the players, and I can't really pinpoint it other than who's playing really in the midfield or in the wingback positions. That seems, especially in possession, that seems to be the real
Yeah, yeah. You know
problem.
what? If you think back to I don't know if I forget if it was the Burnley game or the Palace game where Gareth Bale scored that magnificent goal where he just wand of a left foot right into the top corner. But the process leading up to that goal was very much a tic-tac-toe kind of, you had a congestion of players, 3 Spurs players, 3 Burnley players, where it was just tick to Son, tick to Reguilon, back to Son, and then Son to Bale, and that was it. And we didn't see it. I don't know if it was a. It's hard to just use terms like mentality. Like, what was the term mentality even mean? Like, where does a mentality come from? Is a mentality a thing that a player brings to the pitch, or is mentality the thing that the player earns from performing on the pitch, or is a mentality instilled by the manager? We all kind of look at ourselves when we face our when we find ourselves in moments like this and we're forced to introspect as Spurs fans. It kind of always comes back to this whole like we as a club have a soft mentality and we're easy to turn over. Even like I mean, think of how many games where not only games where we concede first and then roll over, but also there's been a lot of games where we have scored first and then we've ended up turned over as well. So this whole argument about mentality, like what is mentality? Where does it come from? Do we buy it? Do we buy it? Like
Right.
what are
No,
your
I
what
understand.
are your thoughts on that?
Thanks for watching this THFC Rant short. If you want to watch the full length version of this stream, make sure to find it in our streaming playlist. And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you can find us every single time that we go live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. Stay strong, stay Spurs, and we'll see you next time.